The dailies this morning. It is time to rise and shine. My name is Shiko Kaitani, and as always, we do appreciate your feedback throughout our live broadcast. And of course, our social media platforms are live and active. You can catch us as at K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Today, we do have a nice one for you. I'm telling you, you're going to absolutely love this discussion because we are talking about how to position yourself for a salary increment. Now, if you are an employee and you're trying to figure out how do I navigate that discussion with my manager, with HR, well, pay attention because today that's what we're going to be helping you out with. And of course, one of our favorite HR consultants is back. Lucy Mutungi is here with us. Hey, Lucy.
Hi, Chico.
As always, when people see you, they just know some good things are coming.
That's good to know.
Thank you so much for always educating us and, helping us understand, even from a HR perspective,
yes.
How people should navigate some of these tough discussions in the workplace.
My pleasure.
Okay, so, first of all, the first question is, are there any labor laws or at least something that's in the works that actually helps people who are in white-collar jobs? Because we see the labor laws really favoring those who are probably what I would consider low-income earners. But for those who are, working in the corporate sector,
yes,
is there a bare minimum that someone should actually be earning?
Unfortunately, the labor law doesn't touch on especially corporate jobs.
Yeah.
It leaves that to the management of the various organizations.
Yes.
But of course, there's that expectation that the work you do, you'll be paid accordingly.
Yes.
It will be commensurate. So they expect the organizations to have done at least a bit of market research and to pay people well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what do we see, unfortunately, happening today? That a lot of corporates are taking advantage
of that gap.
Yes, of their task force, because it's literally you have no choice.
True.
Yeah.
It's either you take it or leave it.
Right,
Yes.
right. And so that's the basis of even this conversation. It's when I'm applying for a job, surely, as an employer, isn't there something to protect me, or at least a bare minimum that will not let you take advantage of my services?
Now, Shiko, that's where when we come to the interviewing stage, and now we are at the last final stage where now you're negotiating for your salary. That is the mistake we as Kenyans are fond of making, because we take the offer that they give us.
Right.
We don't go there with, people don't do research. So maybe that position you're going for, you're supposed to be paid 50,000 shillings, but they tell you we'll start you off with 30.
Yes.
You see, so of course you're like, oh, at least I've gotten a job.
Yes,
that's
you're just happy. Yes. Right.
So at the end of it, when you get into the organization and you realize, people are actually earning more than myself.
Right.
It's because of how you negotiated. Because we get so excited that there's a job offer.
Right.
So I don't want this. I don't want to lose this opportunity because I might seem greedy. But no, you have to value yourself. You have to know what you're bringing to the table.
Yes.
It might be in terms of the skills you possess. It might be in education qualifications.
Yeah.
Or it might also be in terms of your experience.
Right.
Because sometimes, unfortunately, maybe you had been retrenched.
Yeah.
And now you're coming back into the job market. But that doesn't mean that you didn't have experience coming to this other job.
Right. Okay. And I like the fact that we're actually laying some groundwork here before even now we start talking about how to position yourself. Because if you get it right from the onset, then you probably have a higher chance of, earning whatever it is that you want. But it starts from the basis, from the background.
It starts from the background.
So what you're saying is that for most of us, we don't plan the out clause while going in.
Yes.
So what should I do if, for example, I'm actually going for a job interview? What you're saying is that I need to tell whoever is employing me, my potential employer, is that, okay, you've told me you want to start me off with 30,000.
Yes.
How are we going to review the salary?
Exactly.
Is it after a year, after 2 years? And it has to be agreed upon on that day.
On the contract.
Yes.
Yes. So most of the time people will tell you we'll review your salary after probation.
Yes, we hear that all the time.
Yes.
Just start. We'll see how things go after a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And probation should last between 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
So ideally they should say after 6 months, we will review. I've had situations whereby the people I was bringing on board refused to sign a contract because we had not included what we will agree on after 6 months.
Oh,
so,
yes.
So, yeah, I liked that confidence. So I went back to the drawing board and I included that after 6 months, should this employee have, performed exceptionally well, then his salary will move from this particular amount to that particular amount.
Wow, yes. I like that. So I like you use the word confidence.
Yes.
Have confidence in the services that you're going to offer.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to say that, by the way, if I start working for you, and this is where we get it wrong, because most of, like you said, you're so excited about just getting the job.
Yes.
You forget about what's going to happen to you a year.
True.
So some foresight is needed here.
And at the end of the day, you know yourself, you know what you're capable of. So in those 6 months, you will have earned the type of money that you want to earn.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And even in terms of the salary that you're earning, I think also another mistake that people do is that you will just take whatever figure and not understand what the scope of work is.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Right.
Because you realize, okay, you took this money, but the work you're doing is like for 4 people.
Yes.
And you begin to now even start resenting.
Right.
You start resenting the work, you start resenting the environment. Right. So again, then your productivity also takes a dip.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because in your head, you're like, ini mateso bila chuki.
It's true. And unfortunately, and I hate to use this example, but I feel that way, especially for bankers.
Yes.
You will go, the teller is literally overwhelmed, and they clock those hours from like 8. People think they finish at 3 just because the bank closes at 3, but they are literally there almost till 7 p.m.
True.
And yet they are the people who are probably paid the least in their sector.
Exactly.
So you wonder, okay, was this really worth it? And then when you actually, because we don't calculate what your expenditure is per month, you only realize you're going home with 1,000 shillings.
After all your basics have been removed.
Yes,
that's the unfortunate bit. Yes, so it's important for you to understand your scope of work.
Yes.
And to also, as you're negotiating, to include that.
Okay.
So that they can see, okay, your responsibilities are actually going to be quite many. So it validates why you're asking for that particular amount of money you want to be paid.
That is so true. Okay, so now here we are, we're in this position, we are working. I've worked for about 2 years, 3 years. First of all, at which point should I actually be having my salary reviewed? Because we can go years and years and years earning that 30,000, saying that, okay, one day my boss will call me and say, you've done a good job, Shika.
Most of the time, salary reviews happen after the performance appraisals.
Okay.
So some companies do too.
Yeah.
So of course, media that you can't have your salary review done. You'll probably now be having that conversation at the end of the year appraisal.
Okay.
That's when that topic should actually come up. Okay. But there are instances where you don't have to wait for your performance appraisal. You can just approach, be it your line manager, and say, I would like to have a discussion about my performance.
Right.
And you schedule a meeting.
Okay.
And then that's when now, as you're discussing about your performance, you ask, do you think there's something I need to improve on? And then now you bring out what you have done. You're like, okay, so in the past 6 months, these are the things I have achieved. These are the things I've been able to, bring to the company. And in light of this, I was hoping that I can be considered for a pay raise.
Stop right there. Because I actually want to call out those of us who are employees on that. You've just said, bring out what you've done.
Yes.
Now, when you're actually applying to get a pay rise, how many of us actually think about meeting the deliverables and saying, this is what I've done? So there's no portfolio for you to show, but you want more money.
Exactly. People think just because they've been working maybe for 2-3 years that they deserve a pay rise, but you have to show what you've your deliverables.
Ding, 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 ding. So wait, you have to prove why you need the pay rise.
Yes, you have to prove your value.
Yeah.
And it would be good if it's documented. It's just not hearsay. Yeah, like if you were in charge of a project and you were able to see it through, and you guys achieved, you surpassed then that's what should be now your platform.
So the mistake number one, most of us are not proactive even to actually meet or go over and beyond our call of duty.
Exactly.
But number two, we don't even go as far as documenting what we have achieved. So it's important to put it down.
Yes, it's important
every
to
single
document.
thing that you've done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your emails, your your projections and the actual. And it's very, very important, because then no one will have a reason to say you don't deserve this.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so I like that. So start putting together your achievements, create a portfolio of what you have brought to the company, how you've changed your department in whatever way, even the smallest, the slightest of ways.
Exactly.
Because you need a basis for your argument.
True. Very, very true.
Right.
And then again, you also have to look at the financial position of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the most important thing. Of course, if the company is doing well, then I guess that conversation will be easier.
Yeah.
But if the company is struggling,
don't also just come and start saying, no. But Lucy, let's just be honest about what we really see. How many companies will honestly, openly tell you, oh, we are doing well. In fact, let's review employees' salaries.
Yes.
Because what you'll always hear is, there's no money. There's no money. There's no money.
Yes, but most of the time you can tell. You can tell that your company is in a good space.
Yes.
Sometimes you can tell by just the simple things, the trainings people are going for, the type of people who are coming into the company.
Right.
They could be high value people. So of course in your mind you're like, okay, if we can afford to pay these guys who are coming.
Yes.
Then it means we're not so badly off.
There's a account somewhere there that seems to be doing quite well.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, so they're small things.
Yes.
Yeah, so of course, then again, you will know if the company is not doing well. First, they cut out trainings.
Yeah.
Then they cut out team building.
Right.
They start cutting out things, and you're like, hey, okay. We used to enjoy these things like 1 or 2 years ago, not anymore.
Yeah.
So
okay. So if they're reducing things, also now you can gauge that it's not really a good time. So we've talked about 2 things so far. We've talked about understanding the company's financial position. We've talked about you creating your own portfolio.
Yes.
And then number 3, let's talk a little bit about even the right time to bring it up.
Exactly.
So understanding the mood and the environment is also
very
key.
Important.
What do we see that your typical employee would do? Bring it up at the end of year office party?
Yes.
So even something as small as that could actually ruin your chances.
Exactly.
This is not the time.
This is not the time
to start
or the place.
Or the place to start talking about, hey, boss.
Is how with a salary increment.
Yeah.
No, there has to be a process to it. There has to be,
strategic about it.
You have to be strategic about it. And then again, we've talked about the mood and environment.
Yeah.
If you know that there's a big client coming, and there'll be, a good amount of money that's going to be pumped into the organization, that's also another good time to ask. Yes.
I think also even as towards the end of your contract is a good time to bring it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when now you're slotted for a review, and perhaps they're going to renew your contract. Yeah. Okay, what is your advice for the SME sector, Lucy? Because they do make up bulk of the workforce that we've got. Yes. In such cases, there are no in-betweens. It's the owner of the shop and it's me. Of course, now here we're not talking about appraisals and we're only 2 employees, Yes. So in such a case, we have a very intimate setting. Do they have actually a higher advantage than
I think they do than corporate. Again, in corporate, there's so much office politics.
Yes.
So at least if it's just like maybe you and 2 other people, that kind of politics is manageable. So you just have a candid conversation with, if it's the owner you're dealing with directly. And that one, at least you get an immediate answer.
Yes.
You're not told, okay, wait, let me take this to HR.
Yes.
Right. You'll be told, you say that, yes, or this is not a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for smaller teams, just the constant communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. How do you then deal also with the rejection of your proposal, because it is a proposal. It's saying, can I kindly have X amount of money because I've done XYZ? It could still be rejected. And maybe your line manager, Sikwa Ubaya, will just tell you it's not a good time. So how do you deal with that?
I think now this is now on the employer side. Don't be too, what's the word?
Rigid.
Too rigid.
Yeah.
Okay, you've refused one big item. You can grant them something. It can be a smaller thing.
Okay.
They can make a request. Maybe they want to be, working from home one day a week.
So flexible hours,
Yeah, and that will go a long way to, just keep the employees motivated.
Right.
You've not met the one thing they really wanted, but they can see, you're reasonable. It could be that, or the employee maybe said, okay, so if this pay rise is not possible right now, because a pay rise is a long-term thing.
Right.
Maybe the employee had identified an upcoming training and they want to be considered for it. That would be a good time to also, accept that particular proposal. So in as much as you're saying no, don't say no to everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as much as if you receive the no, also have other ideas or proposals that you can pitch. That
exactly.
Okay, fine, I didn't get the money that I wanted, but what else would I like out of the company? And then bring that up and say, okay, fine. So is it possible for me to do this? If at all, I'm not going to earn what it is that I feel I deserve, I should earn.
Yes, and both, then you have a win-win situation for both.
Okay, all right. I think some of the key points that have come out, the underlying points, is about how we also communicate with our line managers. Most of us go under the radar. It's like the first and the last time you see your boss is when they hired you and when you're being fired. In between, you've never seen your line manager. You don't know what their office looks like. You don't even know anything about them. Yes, and that's how we all try to survive, because you don't want to be called out. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've realized, I know we have these people who say good morning to everyone every day.
Yes.
So the day that person is not around, the line manager will realize, so-and-so is not around. He has not come to say hi.
Yeah.
It's important just to show your face around and, discuss some of the difficulties or challenges you're facing, or discuss how the team is working well together. It doesn't have to be bad news all the time.
Right.
Yeah, because even line managers want good news.
Yes.
So as long as you're being visible, whenever discussions come up.
Yeah.
Because remember, the line manager is the one who has to
present your case.
Present your case to, if it's the HR department or if it's to management. They'll be like, this person in my team has been doing so well consistently.
Yes.
So, you need to also have that line of communication.
And they actually play a very vital role to you getting to your goal.
And to getting a promotion.
One headhunter who comes on the show quite a bit, and everybody loves her, Natalia Zara. She has brought up quite a number of times this point that a lot of people don't understand that they are working for themselves. And I think that is probably also the take home.
Yes.
Such that you get a job and you just feel just because I've gotten the job, you will do the bare minimum. Whereas you don't realize that in the long term, it comes to bite you where the sun doesn't shine. Because you didn't do anything in your 4 years. You haven't done anything.
You haven't done anything. You were just waking up and going somewhere to appear busy.
Yes.
But you were not executing.
Right.
That's the one thing that I think even as the new working generation comes up, they should really focus on. We find people getting bored very easily.
Yes.
But remember, you are working for specific reasons. You're working to better yourself. You're working for financial security. You're working to be able to, sustain yourself and if it's your family members.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when you think about all these things that come into play,
Yeah.
you need to give your best.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen anyone who's given their best and has not progressed.
Right. Really, from a HR perspective,
yes,
you always see them going higher and higher.
Exactly.
And higher. Right.
Exactly.
Right. So personal goals, even as much as you've gotten a job, are key.
Exactly.
You've got to have a goal even within that company that belongs to someone else. Right.
Because now I see the problem as Kenyans, sometimes you say, I'm here working this hard, I'm just making money for someone else. You know, that's the mentality people have. They don't realize at the end of the day, this money that you're making can be translated to you.
Right. Okay. I think as we're winding down, Lucy, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how to protect ourselves in regards to the bare minimum or the wages that we can earn? We've seen a lot of people joining trade unions. Do you highly recommend that, you know, in whichever industry that you're in, that you form a formidable group so that at least your rights?
I actually would recommend that, because you'll find that in a group, your collective bargaining agreement is stronger. You're able to present a strong case in terms of even not only pay, but in terms of other things, even leave days, even how termination can occur. It now becomes a process. A unionized member, you cannot just send them packing.
That is true.
So you'll protect yourself, and then you'll gain more benefits if you're in a trade union.
The importance of even we taking up that responsibility to understand your job, your industry, and even the market price for your services. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that, even as we say kwaheri?
I think as you're applying for any particular job, there is normally a job profile. So be honest with yourself. Go through it thoroughly. Ask yourself, are these things I can really do? Because then again, you don't want to say you can do them, and then when it comes to actually doing them, you can't. Not only do you frustrate yourself, even your employer. Because then these days people they don't have time to train you. So you'll be on the receiving end. Even if you don't know something, just learn. You either learn from your colleague, or you do an online course if it's something that needs to be a course that needs to be certified. Just keep learning, keep being open-minded. And then also be realistic in what you can do.
All right. So just as a recap, in terms of what we have talked about, if you are actually planning on starting that conversation with your line manager about how to get a salary increment, remember we talked about understanding the company's financial position. Try and gauge, understand the tempo that's currently going on in your workspace, and from there you'd actually be able to gauge, okay, is this a good time to bring it up? We also talked about the right time to bring up this particular discussion with your line manager. Don't raise it at team building at the end of year Christmas party. It is not a good idea after you've had one too many to start asking about for a pay rise. Not a good time. Be strategic about how you're going to go about that conversation. And the most important point as we wind up, I dare say, is you creating your profile and actually trying to understand what are some of the deliverables that I have brought to my department. It's not enough for you to just go ahead and say, like Lucy said, I want more money. It's why do I need more money? And with that in mind, we bring our Rise and Shine segment to a close. Lucy Mutungi, thank you so much for coming through. Of course, if you do want to get in touch with Lucy directly, we'll be happy to put you in touch. Of course, she does offer some of those HR consultancy services. So go ahead, hit me up on my personal profile, or at least my personal account. And even on social media as K24, we'll be happy to actually put you in touch with Lucy. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we get on the other side, it's time to get interactive. I can see Jeff Mote and Paul Movie good to go.